All right, guys, today we're going to look at some different inverse functions, and it's going to help you with your delta math today, okay? So I'm going to do 10 problems, and they're going to be just like problems that you're probably going to see on delta math, all right? So we have our steps. The first thing you do is change f of x to y, okay? Then you switch x and y. Okay, that's a very important step. And then you're going to solve for y, which is what you did in Math 1, solving for x. Okay, so we're just solving for y. All right, and then 4, change y to f of inverse x. Okay, those are our steps today. All right, 4 steps. The only one that's going to take you a minute is number 3. Okay, the other ones are 2 seconds. All right, so number 1. So number 1 is going to be f of x is equal to 6x to the 1/5. Okay? All right, so first change f of x to y. Then I'm going to switch x and y. All right, now here comes the solving part. You work outwards to inwards. Okay, so I'm going to first get rid of the 6. So I'm going to divide by the 6. So now I have x over 6 is equal to y to the 1/5. All right, so how do I get rid of that 1/5? Well, we're doing inverse operations, okay, to do inverse functions. So inverse operations cancel each other out, correct? So if you had the fraction 1/5, in order to cancel the fraction out, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by 5 over 1, and that all cancels out and gives me 1. Just like if I had 2/3, I'd multiply by 3 over 2, and that's going to cancel out and give me 1 also. So it's an exponent, so I'm actually going to raise it to the reciprocal, which is 5. And then I'm going to raise this to the 5th power. Okay? Now, when I raise, the right-hand side exponents are going to cancel out because they're reciprocals of each other. Okay? And y will be left by itself. But then you've got to distribute this exponent. I'm going to say x to the 5th, and then I'm going to say 6 to the 5th. And 6 to the 5th is a really big number. Okay? So then step 4 says to change y to f of inverse x. So now I'm going to have f of inverse x is equal to x to the 5th over 7,776. Okay? All right, let's do another one. Number 2, we're going to do y equals x to the 1/3 over 6. All right, so this was already in y format, so I don't have to change f of x to y, and that's fine. Okay, if it gives it to you in the y format, you can skip step 1. Step 2 says to switch x and y. So now I'm going to say x equals y to the 1/3 divided by 6. You're going to work furthest out. So that 6 is being divided. So now I'm going to multiply by 6 on both sides. Okay, that cancels here, which is what we want. 6 times x is 6x, and that equals y to the 1/3. Now we just did one like this, okay? And to cancel out the 1/5, we multiplied by 5. So to cancel out the 1/3, we're going to multiply by we're going to raise it to the 3rd exponent. Okay? You see how I did parentheses here? And I did parentheses here because you have to distribute that exponent. Okay? So this exponent cancels. I've got to say 6 to the 3rd. So 6 to the 3rd power is 216. And then x to the 3rd power is just x to the 3rd, and that equals y. And my final answer is f of inverse x is equal to 216 x cubed. And that's your answer. Okay? So anytime you have a fraction exponent, to get rid of it, you multiply by the reciprocal. Okay? All right. Let's do this one. we've got f of x is equal to 7 times x. Oh. No. You want to zoom back in. All right. 7 plus, okay, there we go. We got it. All right. So now I've got to change f of x to y. Okay, so we'll change f of x to y. Then we're going to switch our x and y. Okay, and once you switch your x and your y, now it's coming to, all right, let's get y by itself, just like you usually get x by itself, okay? Same concept, except it's just y instead of x. So you work your way out to work your way in. So I'm going to get rid of the 7. The 7's being multiplied, so we're going to divide by the 7. And I have x divided by 7 is equal to y plus 3. Then we're going to subtract that 3. And I'm going to come up here. And I now have x over 7 minus 3 is equal to y. Change your y to f of inverse x. And my answer is x divided by 7 minus 3. Okay? Also, when you're doing Delta Math today, you know it has that show me the solution step. So take advantage of that if you get stuck, okay? All right. Let's do, f of x is equal to x plus 12, oh me, Jesus. X plus 12 divided by 7. There we go. All right, so change f of x to y. Switch x and y. All right, and now let's solve for y. Okay, so we're trying to get this guy by himself. Okay, so we need to get rid of that 7 first. So we're going to multiply by 7 on both sides. I'm going to come over here. We've got 7x is now equal to y plus 12. Get rid of the 12, subtract 12. We have 7x minus 12 is equal to y. Change y to f of inverse x. That equals 7x minus 12. Okay? It's just a process. You've got to practice to figure out how to do it. Okay? All right. So now we're going to look at doing exponents that are not fractions. Okay? So a fraction exponent, you raise it to the reciprocal power. A whole exponent, you do something different. Okay? So let's talk about that. So let's do y equals x minus 3 to the 4th power. So we're going to change, so we've already got y, so we don't have to change it to f of x. So we're going to switch x and y. Now I'm going to come over here to a side note, and I want to do a flashback to math too. Okay? So if you had x squared equals 9, how would you get rid of that x squared? You would take the square root, correct? And a square root and a square cancel out, and I'm left with whatever the square root of 9 is. I mean, I know what that is, but that's not the point of the problem. Okay? So if you have x cubed equals 8, so a square root gets rid of a square, so what gets rid of a cubed? A cubed root. Okay? That's what gets rid of a cubed. So what gets rid of a fourth? A fourth root. Okay? So if I have, so let's be dramatic about it. If I have x to the 100th power equals, I don't even know. You would take the 100th root, and that's how you would get it by itself. Okay? So anytime you have an exponent, the inverse of it is the radical raised to whatever power it is, okay? So I want to get rid of this the fourth power. So I'm going to take the fourth root of both sides. And so I'm left with the fourth root of x is equal to y minus 3. And then we're just going to add the 3, and I get the fourth root of x plus 3 is equal to y, which in turn turns into f of inverse x is equal to the fourth root of x plus 3. Okay? All right. Let's do some more with these exponents, okay? All right. So now we're going to do f of x is equal to y, JK, 9x to the 6th. Okay? All right. So now you work outside, you work furthest away. Okay? So that's 6 pretty close to that x, so we're going to take away that 9. Before we do that, though, we got to change f of x to y. And then we're going to switch x and y. Now let's solve. Divide by the 9. And I have x over 9 is equal to y to the 6th. Now, the fourth root got rid of the fourth power. So that means the sixth root is going to get rid of the sixth power. And now I have y equals the sixth root of x over 9, which turns into f of inverse x equals the sixth root of x over 9. And I think in Delta Math, you don't have to worry about this. I think it's already up there for you, and you just type in the function, okay? If I do remember correctly, okay? All right. Okay, so now let's do another one. So we're going to do f of x is equal to x to the 8th minus 3. Change f of x to y. Switch x and y. Whoops. Now let's solve for y. Work out in. So we're going to add 3. I now have x plus 3 is equal y to the 8th. To get rid of the 8th power, we take the 8th root. Okay? And so now I have y equals the 8th root of x plus 3, which it really is f of inverse x of the 8th root of x plus 3. All right. Let's do one more like this, okay? Let's do a rainbow. So we got, I think I'm running out of room to slide up. Oh. All right. So it's not being very cooperative. There we go. So I have Malanta. F of x is equal to x to the 4th. I'm going to fix this. All right. So I've got to change f of x to y. After I change f of x to y, I switch x and y. And now we're going to get y by itself. So you got to get rid of that denominator first. So we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. I'm going to come up here. We've got 4x is equal to y to the 4th. To get rid of the 4th power, we have to take the 4th root. Okay? When I do that, I get y equals the 4th root of 4x, which is really f of inverse x, equals the 4th root of 4 to the x, or 4 times x, not to the x. All right, so that's how you get rid of exponents. Now, how do you get rid of radicals? Well, you just do the opposite of what we did. Okay? So, all right. Lord have mercy. All right, all right, so this one is going to be, I don't understand. There we go. It's just more clean. There we go. So we've got f of x is equal to the third root of x minus 3. Okay? So, again, I don't know if I can find it. Now that I want to find my stuff, I won't be able to find it. Okay, I think it's disappeared. So it's all good. We'll just talk about it. Okay? So we'll do another side note over here. So, if I gave you x squared equals 4, and we know the square root gets rid of that x squared, correct? And we leave this with x equals the square root of 4. If you have the square root of x equals 4, you do the opposite. You're going to square both sides, so x would equal 16. Okay? Same thing with a cube root. If I give you the cube root of x is equal to 2, you're going, so the cube root, so if a square gets rid of a square root, a cube gets rid of a cube root, and I have x equals 8. Okay? So all you do is raise it to whatever is right there. So here, so I'm going to switch f of x to y. I'm going to switch x and y. Okay? So to get rid of a cube root, you have to cube both sides. Okay? So now I have x cubed, because I distributed my cubed to the only thing that was in there. This cancels, and I'm left with y minus 3. We're going to add 3 to both sides. So I get x cubed plus 3 equals y, which my final answer is f of inverse x equals x cubed plus 3. Okay? All right, last problem I'm going to do. Okay? Last problem, let's do this blue. No, let's do, okay, so I've got y equals 11 times the 5th root of x. I don't need to change anything to y, it's already there. So now I'm going to say x equals 11, the 5th root of x. So you've got to work out in. So I'm going to get rid of that 11, so I'm going to divide by 11. Now I have x divided by 11 is equal to the 5th root of x. Well, if a cube gets rid of a cube root, that means I'm going to raise this to the 5th power. Okay? That cancels. Oh, this should say y. My bad, guys. That's my bad. See, that could have confused us. I just made the biggest mistake y'all make. Happens to the best of us. All right, so distribute this exponent of 5. So x to the 5th is x to the 5th. 11 to the 5th, I definitely have to use my calculator, is a really big number. And that equals y, which is f of inverse x equals x to the 5th over 16. You probably won't get big numbers like this because I made these problems up and I didn't think about the results. I just want you to understand the process. Okay, so I need you to understand that to get rid of a fraction exponent, we multiply, we raise it to the reciprocal. Okay, that cancels. To get rid of a whole exponent, we take that root, and that, see how they match? The exponent and the root match. That cancels and gives us x. And then if you're given the root, you raise it to that power, and that cancels it out. Okay, those are the 3 big things you need to get from this video to do your Delta Math. All right, so your Delta Math is up. You need to turn in all shown work that you show on Delta Math to get full credit, okay? All right, guys.